Welcome to County Cable Montgomery's In the Loop. I'm Neil Greenberger. This is a show where you're going to hear about inside depth on issues that you wouldn't normally hear otherwise. I'm Neil Greenberger. Today our special guest, Council Member Sidney Katz, represents District 3. Starting your third year on the council, but unlike many people who started the council here, you had a lot of government experience. Gaithersburg, 38 years, 20 years as a council member, 16 years as mayor. And even then, no matter what people come to the council job for, I think a lot of them find it's not always what they expected. Anything surprise you about this job?
There certainly have been surprises. You know, I came knowing a lot. I was raised in Montgomery County. My mother was born here. My family has been here 100 years. And I had testified before the Montgomery County Council literally hundreds of times. And I would testify and leave, and I always thought that I knew exactly how everything was done with Montgomery County, and I knew a lot, but I certainly didn't know it all. It's the old story, you don't know what you don't know. One of the things that has been really, it's a lot of fun for me, but it's extremely busy. And I was a busy guy as mayor. I mean, I had a store. I was the mayor of Gaithersburg, and I was out a lot. I mean, many evenings. I would leave the store sometimes during the day, and then come back. So I was always busy. But in this case, it really is much busier. I mean, I'm out probably 4 nights, 5 nights a week, sometimes more. During the day, it's a full-time job. So during the day, if we don't have a council meeting or a committee meeting, we meet with we have appointments to meet with constituents and people that would like to give us their viewpoints. So it's a fun job, but it's much busier than I thought it would be.
What's the difference between trying to run a city of about 60,000 people and a county of about 1 million people?
Well, first off, it wasn't just me running it. I mean, I always tell people will say, what was, the greatest thing that you did? And I always say, well, first off, me personally didn't do it. It was a group of people that worked together to do it. And I think the other side of that is in the city, in the municipalities, Gaithersburg and Rockville, there certainly is a city manager that runs the day-to-day activities. So as much as you're involved and you get people that, I always used to call it the steam coming out of their ears, they're annoyed that something didn't happen or didn't happen fast enough or felt they weren't being listened to or weren't being listened to, then they'll call you right away for the complaint side. But in this job, I really find that first off, we have personal staff for each office, each council member's office, which I did not have as mayor. I mean, the city staff, everybody on the city staff worked for everybody. In this case, you actually have people that work directly for you. You actually do a lot of the constituent service. When I first came here, they said you need a scheduler. And I always tell people, I said, I don't need a scheduler. For 36 years, I was appointed for 2 years, 38 years in Gaithersburg. I scheduled myself. And all of a sudden, they said, oh, no, you need a scheduler. I said, there's no way. And I was here 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I thought, thank goodness I have a scheduler. It is that type of thing. If you schedule yourself, you don't have the time to actually do other work. So it's been those types of things.
You modestly give credit to your colleagues in Gaithersburg for all those years, but you were the acknowledged head of the city as mayor, and you not only were around Gaithersburg, I know you were very visible in other places. Now you're one of 9. Is there a difference of being the mayor and the head of something and one of 9 members on a council?
Yes. First off, I think as a mayor, you're the spokesperson for the organization. And here, as the one of 9, the president of the county council or the county executive or whoever is speaking, they're certainly much more of the spokesperson for the organization. But other than that, I don't know that it's that great a difference. I mean, many places, the title mayor has such a different meaning depending on where you are. The mayor of Baltimore does different things than the mayor of Gaithersburg. I mean, it's a different position, but everybody's called the same thing. So people know the title. They tease me from time to time. They could call me council mayor because I was whenever you go to an event, somebody will say, excuse me, but I still call you mayor, and that's fine. I mean, I was proud of being a mayor. I'm proud of being on the Montgomery County Council, and I'm certainly pleased that people know who I am, and that they can come to me and feel comfortable to tell me their concerns. Because a lot of times people will say this is a problem, but they don't either know who to call or don't want to figure out who to call, but they still have the problem, and we like to try our best to solve them. Can't solve them all, but we like to try our best to.
In that same light, you brought another unique perspective to the council. You quickly become a spokesperson and speaking loudly for small business owners on a number of issues in a number of ways, but that's because you were a small business owner for many years, Wolfson's department store in Gaithersburg. How is that and all the experiences you brought here transcended to some of the things that you have to deal with on the county council?
Well, it does, and that's part of the advantage that I had as being a small business person was that I was in, not as near the end, not as much as I was in the beginning, but I was in the four walls of my store, every day. I mean, I wasn't there on Sundays, but every 6 days a week I was there. So people knew where they could find me. People knew if something happened that they could stop by. They would. I was 2 blocks from City Hall, and if they, as I say, and not that it happened that often, but if someone got annoyed, they would stop by on their way home to let me know about an experience. And sometimes they stop by to tell me a pleasant experience too. I don't want to make this all sound negative, because Gaithersburg and Rockville and others do a great job. But that was in itself a little different for me, because I had the accessibility as a business person and as a member of the governmental body. In addition to that, a small business, you do it all. You sweep the floor. I mean, in my case, I swept the floor. I told people I didn't sweep the floor at home as much, but I certainly swept the floor in the store. You sweep the floor, you do the ordering, you ring the register, you wait on customers. I mean, you do every bit of what is necessary. And that in itself has been a big help to me, because I understand what it means to try to figure out how you're going to get A to work with B. I mean, if you want to buy things, you have to have the money to buy it. You have to figure out how much inventory you need, and whether or not this one sold and this one didn't sell. What do you do there? I mean, you get to do it all, and it really was a marvelous experience for me personally.
I hope if they came to the store to complain, they at least bought a pair of boots on the way out.
I have to tell you, and I've told this many, many times, I had people who came in extremely annoyed, and if I'd be waiting on somebody, and they'd say, Sidney, they knew that I had 2 lives here, and they'd say, Sidney, I'm really upset. When you finish with your customer, please, let me know, and I'll come back and talk to you. And that, because they let me have my 2 lives, they knew that in order to have a business, you have to have sales, and in order to work with the public, you had to have good conversations. So they really did. The public was, it wasn't 100%, but it was close to that 99%. Were always very worked with me, and I was most appreciative of it.
In that same perspective, you've been very outspoken on the proposal to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2020 or somewhere in the future. Where do you think that's headed? Well,
I think it's going to be headed that we are going to be having a report. It's my understanding, I spoke to Ike Leggett recently, that he's going to commission a study, which is what it was a 5-4 split on the county council, and the 4 side, which I was one of, said we would like to have a study to see if there's any way that this could be worked in a way that we can get there, but get there in a way that we make certain that especially the small businesses, that they will stay in business. As I tell people all the time, and I certainly want everyone, and I mean that, underline the word everyone, to have a better life. And of course, to have a better life means you have to have a higher wage and to be able to buy things and to purchase things for our families and for ourselves, so that we can have a better life. But if the small business cannot afford that additional salaries, then they have 2 choices. Either they're going to lay some people off, or they're going to close their business. And if they close their business, they're laying off more people than just the people who are employed there, because in many cases, the small business person, the owner, works in that business as well. So I think sincerely that there's a way that this puzzle can fit together, that we can come out with the best solution that we can possibly come out with, that people will have their better lives, that businesses will stay in business, and not only will they be able to keep the people who are employed there now employed, they will be able to expand so they can employ more people, and even though regardless of the minimum wage, and I think we'll get to the $15 at whatever time frame, but if that's the case, a minimum wage really would have little effect because they will go beyond that. They're going to have people that are working for them that they want to make certain that they get the highest wage possible.
Another issue you've been very involved with on the council is behavioral health. You've really taken an interest in it. You're the lead member for behavioral health and juvenile justice.
In the justice system.
And this is an issue not everybody stands up for, especially because this is something where you stand up for people who can't really stand up for themselves. Is there a reason you're so passionate about this?
You know, I guess there's many reasons I'm passionate. I have no background. I've been here 3 years. I now have a background in this, but prior to me getting here, I didn't have a background in this. But I knew that it was it was an issue that we needed to address. You go into the Montgomery County Detention Center, and the people in the center, the numbers of the people incarcerated, the numbers have actually gone down, but the people who are in there who have mental health issues has gone up. And we've started mental health courts now in Montgomery County. We have both a district court as well as a circuit court. Phil Andrews, who had the seat, the district council member before me, was actually the chair of the committee that got us there. I was on the committee, as were many other people. And we realized that many times someone who has these types of issues, that they're being arrested time and time again, and we're not solving that issue. So now that we have these courts that will work with all the people associated with it, not just the person who's been arrested, but the social workers and the mental health workers and everyone else associated with it, so that we can get this person back to being the member of society that we all want them to be.
That's a major change. We're quickly running out of time, but I did want to ask you, you're a lifelong resident of Montgomery County, Gaithersburg.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in this county in the past 10, 15 years?
Oh, 10, 15, you only go back 10, 15. That's, you know, there's certainly been tremendous changes. I mean, the fact that Montgomery County is in the top 10 most diverse places in America, that Montgomery County had 4 places that are in the top 10. I mean, that was certainly a big difference. The fact that agriculture is no longer what it used to be in the lower areas of Montgomery County. We still have, you know, a third of the county in the ag reserve, but not as many people see that. I mean, there was a time when I would go to Rockville, I would see, you know, cattle on the King Farm. I mean, there was that type of thing. I've said many times and many years ago that when I was in high school, the kids in my class would go to the Montgomery County Fair to show their cattle. Now we go to the Montgomery County Fair to show our children what cattle look like. So there's been a lot of difference. There has.
I don't want to end this show without mentioning something special. In February, you were inducted into Gaithersburg Hall of Mayors. I know you've had many honors bestowed upon you from organizations of all types. Where does this one stand? Well,
it really was a special night. I was telling my brothers, they asked whether they should be at the event, and I said, they're just hanging my picture. It's not, you know, it's not that big a deal here. But it really was. It was much more special than that. The city did a lovely job having people that were there, and I'll tell you, you know, for years I always had walked in that hall, and I knew so many people who had been the mayor of Gaithersburg over time. I mean, and I respected each and every one of them. I knew them, and the fact, and my good friend, the fact that my picture is hung next to my good friend W. Edward Bohr Jr., who was the mayor before me and passed away in office. You know, I said that night that it really is neat to be hanging out with Eddie again, so it was special. Well, it's neat to be with Councilmember Sidney Katz. That's going to be a good way to end this edition of In the Loop.
Thank you for joining us on County Cable Montgomery. I'm Neil Greenberger. Please stay with us.